Hi guys, it's Emily from Novell Novels and welcome to today's video. This is historical fiction versus contemporary. Now, just to give you guys a little bit of those of you new to me or those of you that you want to know more, my main sort of channel of things is that I tend to read my two favourite sort of genres of the month are normally contemporary or historical fiction. I'm just suddenly thought I might actually show you guys. But yeah, so I just run through a bit. Basically, contemporary tends to be my, like I was talking about sweets on the other day on one of my wrap-up videos. Contemporaries are very comfortable. That was what I started my booktube journey for nearly 5 years ago. It'll be 5 years next month, actually. Contemporaries were what I started my journey on booktube with and what I started my book in life with. They were the books that before I had the kids especially, or even in the early days of the children, that was all I read. Paige Toon was one of the authors that got me into contemporaries and into reading again, and she was one, thanks to my sister Vicky, my younger sister, she was the one that sort of got me into that, and that was where I sort of started my booktube journey, and all my books used to be contemporary. Then I remembered historical fiction, and that was the next genre that I really got into. Historical fiction, especially it was Tudor. The Tudor era was something I was interested in. It's what I remember learning at school. I don't know why Henry VIII. I don't know whether it's the connection to the fact that where I live in Bracknell, we've got a pub called the Old Manor, and there is a lot of Tudor history in the Old Manor, and that's possibly where, obviously I've lived in Bracknell since I was 5, so this is like my hometown. This is where I am. And there are Tudor connections here. And so that, and also I remember my nan, my mum's mum, used to really like historical fiction in the Tudor era. And I think history is where I come from, in the fact that my nan, my mum's mum, taught me a lot about history. She talked a lot about the war, so that's the other era of history that I like. I like reading about the wartime books. Not enjoy, because obviously it's hard times, but they're my sort of two genres that I really got, two eras of history that I got really into, because I remember hearing about them from my nan. One of my nan's favourite authors apparently was Philippa Gregory. And I think that sort of connection to her, when my nan was alive, she was a real inspiration. Like, she taught me so much growing up. My mum, don't get me wrong, my mum's amazing, but through her and my nan, I learnt so much. I learnt about strength. The war was something my nan spoke a lot about, and she was young, she was evacuated in the war. And my granddad went, and my mum's dad was in a prisoner of war over in the Middle East. And so he didn't really talk about war, but there was stuff that I grew up learning about. I grew up learning about the East End strength, because my nan was from the East End. And so those sort of connections, and like the connection to her, this lady who inspired me to keep going no matter what. Like, my nan and my mum are two of my biggest inspirations in life. So anything that connects me with those two is like a go-to thing for me. They're like, yeah, it's just important to me. It really is. And that family history, my mum's oldest brother, he teaches me so much. Every time he comes down, I learn about my history of my family. I learn about that. And learning about my history is what's given me strength when I've had my own obstacles in life. When I've had my injuries, when I've had things that have affected me, like obviously my own disabilities, my own depression, my anxieties, all the problems I've had in my life, I tend to like history to teach me that if my nan can go through this, my mum's had her obstacles, if these ladies in my past have gone through it and they've survived it, like one of my great nans was one of the suffragettes, so that's another connection I have. She was my great nan. I think her mum, or my great nan, was actually on some of the suffragette marches. That's another reason why I like learning about that, because they were in that. They were strong women that overcame so much in their lives. And my mum is one of 8 children. I've got great aunts and I've got loads of lovely aunts and uncles. And my nan also used to take in other people and look after them. She was a real family person, fiery woman, total redhead, total like amazing woman. And then my great nan was a fiery woman. She was a strong woman. She was like tiny, but God, did she have a strength in her. I was lucky enough to have a great nan, to meet my great nan and to know her and to know her strength. And on the other side, my dad's mum, my nan on my dad's side, she was amazing. Like, we fought like cat and dog, don't get me wrong. She drove me bloody loopy, and I could have, I mean, until it was only when my dad died that I learnt how much strength she actually had and how many obstacles she overcame, and her side of that. And I think learning the strength of my past gave me strength in the current times, and that's why I love historical fiction, because our past can teach us lessons. I think that, in all honesty, like, obviously I look back, and when I read the wartime books, when I read the historical fiction books, I learn a lot, and I love learning. I love, even at in my age now, I love learning. So the historical fiction teaches me so much. But to think, like, I always gain strength in the fact that the past teaches us, and the obstacles, if these people in our past had obstacles, they overcame them. But to think, like, the COVID crap, our children are going to have that as their history, and that's going to go down in the history books, and we're going to be able to teach our children's children that we survived that. We survived a frigging shitty pandemic that flipping nearly killed us, and it killed so many people, and we're going to be able to be a part of history in that. Sorry, I'm getting really emotional today. God knows what's going on. So that's why I love historical fiction. Contemporary books are cosy. They're the books I read before I go to bed. They're the books that are about family. I love the family, books about sisters, books about siblings, books about family connection, books about found families, because I believe, like, the booktube community, that's my found family. I have found families there. I have found families with some of my best friends here. My work family. I have families in different areas. They don't have to be blood. Like, my friend Helen is more, I call her my surrogate sister, because I've known her since she was like 11 years old. And she is more like a sister to me than a friend, because we're just so close. And she tells me off like my sisters do. But she is one of my best friends, and my sister's like that. And her two daughters are my nieces in every which way. Just because they're not my blood, they're my nieces, and they say that I'm like their auntie. So families don't have to be blood; they can be that. So that's sort of that thing with contemporaries. Contemporaries is not just about romances with contemporaries. It's families, it's friendships, it's communities. The booktube community has got me through so much of the rubbish. I think one of the things having chronic pain is that sometimes I can't always go out and socialise. I'm not someone that goes out in the evenings. I'm not someone that goes out very much because I don't have the energy in the evenings. So my friends online have become amazing. Like the Waffle Girls, they're just like my best friends ever. And I've got other friends on here. You all know who you are. But those friendships, those online friendships, have kept me going when I've not been able to see that. And over COVID, when we couldn't socialise, online was the way to go. And think how much we bless that. So yeah, so that's why I love contemporaries as well. So I wanted to do this video just to talk. I've got some stats to show you, to talk about. My stats are rough. When I say about numbers of books and stuff, it is rough, because I've got books over there. I'm just thinking, there is actually a contemporary book. I need to add an extra book that's a contemporary book on that pile. Okay, so that's going to have to be added, and I think I did that one. So these are rough. These are rough because I'm filming this on the 5th of March, and these stats are rough. So please don't be angry. But yeah, I'll show you talk about some of the stats and talk about my favourite authors. I've got 2 books to recommend that I've read of historical fiction, and 2 books I've read of contemporary. And then I've got 2 books on my shelves that I'm looking forward to of each genre. As to when they get read, who knows. But these stats have actually surprised me. So, according to this, on my shelves, I've got 108 historical fiction read, and only 102 historical and contemporary books read. That was surprising. I thought there'd be a bigger jump, because I thought I would have kept a lot more historical fiction, because they're the ones I tend to reread the most. But I've got 102 read. I'm thinking, looking at those, I need to probably go through that and work out whether I need to keep all of these and how much of these I'm going to reread. I do need to start rereading both these bloody books. I was doing rereads last year, and I need to carry on going, because I need to know how many of these I actually need to keep and how many I can probably give away. Next is the unread. And this, again, surprised me slightly. I own 89 unread historical fiction and 65 unread contemporaries. I would have thought it would have been more unread contemporaries, but I know that I'm buying less contemporaries now, because I certainly won't pay full price for them as easily, because I don't tend to like I said, I don't tend to reread them, so I won't pay full price. They're normally charity shop books, a lot of my contemporaries, but I have got some full price. So this means that I actually own a total of, on my shelves at the moment, but this is roughly 197 historical fiction and 167 contemporary. So that's a bigger gap than I thought there would be. That doesn't look right, but oh, that's roughly, there is a big gap. I certainly have more historical fiction than contemporaries. If at any point you guys want me to do fantasy and non-fiction, all the other genres I've got, let me know. Because I've not, by the way, when I talk about contemporaries, I've not included contemporaries for middle grade or YA contemporaries. This is all or middle grade or YA historical fiction. This is all adult. This is all adult, because if I tried to go into that as well, it would have fudged me up even more. But this is the adult ones I've got, okay? Because I have my YA bookshelf separately, and a separate shelf for YA and a separate shelf for middle grade. So be warned, that doesn't count. But according to this, in 2023, I read 127 historical fiction and 154 contemporaries. Again, those numbers are close. I don't know how it's going to be this year. I wonder whether those numbers will change. Let's see what I do next year. But on my favourites list of last year, I'm surprised. Again, the numbers are close, but I actually had 3 favourites of historical fiction, but 4 favourites of contemporary. And there were a couple of fantasies. But yeah, that number, I didn't think, normally I don't have as many favourites that are contemporaries, but the contemporaries last year obviously outweighed it. I don't think the favourites actually that I'm recommending, the 2 of the books that I'm recommending each are from last year's. But there you go. Now to my favourite authors. I'm giving 3 favourite authors for both. A favourite author has to be an author that I've read more than one of. So, sorry Katie, you can't be on a favourite authors just yet. She will probably be next year, because she's got another book out this year. But my favourite authors for historical fiction are Stacey Halls, who writes a lot of Victorian historical fiction. That's another era now that I'm reading. I love Victorian era. I really, really enjoy books on that. So I do, although it's like I do a read, but I have got different eras of history that I'm reading more of, like the Greek history, although my Greek books I'm counting as fantasy, because a lot of the Greek history books are more fantasy based. But I do love the Greek era now. But yeah, Victorian literature is where Stacey Halls tends to be, but she has got some Georgian and some other eras, so that's going to be, she's an absolute diamond. I love reading her books. Kristin Hannah, well, she's written books in so many different genres, but she's more modern area of historical fiction. Her latest book that's coming out that I really hope I got for my birthday, you guys would have seen whether I have it or not yet. That's set in the war, in the Doodah War, the Vietnam War. But she does write great historical fiction books. But her books will break you, will kill you, and will make you cry, because every one of her books has made me floods of tears. And then lastly on the historical fiction favourite authors is Elaine Everest. She writes wartime books predominantly. She's got different series on the go. I'm up to date on her Woolworth Girls series, but she's got a Tea Shop Girls book that's coming out in March. I will be getting it. I will read that. I will buy it. All 3 of these authors are auto-buy authors. They are authors that I will buy pretty much as soon as I get their books. Now for my contemporary 3 favourite authors. You guys would have guessed these. Obviously Heidi Swain, bloody love her. She's absolutely amazing. She's also an absolutely lovely lady that I've spoken to on the internet, on like Instagram and things like that. She's amazing. I love her books. She's got a book coming out soon. I'll be buying it. She's an auto-buy author. Her books, she tends to write, she has a lot of books written in series, and then she started doing standalones. Her standalone last year that I loved, which I've not got with me to show you because I picked books that were easy to grab. But the Book Lovers Retreat, I should have shown you that actually. That is amazing. That was her standalone last summer. That was an incredible book. It was one of my favourites for last year. Actually, I will link my favourites for last year down in the comments down below. The next one is Beth O'Leary. She's not got a book out this year because she's having a baby, but her books are auto-buys. I've got all of them in hardback apart from the Flatshare, which I've got in paperback. And that annoys me because I don't like it when I've got one odd one. At some point I may do that. I may buy the Flatshare in hardback. And then lastly, the author that got me into contemporaries is Paige Toon. and she's got another book out this year. She brings out a book every year. Her books are all standalone, but they all have connections. She always has some characters that sort of cross in from other books. I think there was only one book that didn't do that, and that was brilliant. I literally love her books. She's a great author. She's an auto-buy author. One of her books didn't get on a favourite last year, but it was still brilliant. It was just so many. If I went for like books by my favourite authors automatically on my list, I wouldn't think that was fair. So now I'll show you 2 books of each genre that I'm recommending, and then 2 books of each that I'll do. So the first book that I would recommend from is Paige Toon's book, Someone I Used to Love. This and Johnny Be Good are my favourite books of hers. This is more of her modern one. It didn't come out last year, it was the year before last. And it has connections to foster caring, it has different timelines. And Then and Now, which I loved. It's got about found families as well, which I absolutely loved. In this book, broke me into a million pieces because there was something in this that was a trigger for me. But its cover is probably one of those prettiest books I own. And it's about, like, at 15, George is the foster brother that Leah never asked for, and angry, and Leah finds herself getting drawn to him. Then Theo has mysteriously left boarding school, and he's now at a local skate school. When their worlds collide that summer, the 3 teenagers formed a bond that they will believe will be unbreakable. And then in the present timeline, shocking news brings Leah back to Yorkshire, baby daughter in tow. But Emily's father, Theo, isn't with them, and George has unexpectedly returned. This book broke me. I've read it twice. I absolutely loved it. It's one I thoroughly recommend. And obviously, but if you want a rock and roll book, Johnny Be Good's my other favourite book by her that I loved. And if I thought I'd pick a Beth O'Leary book. Now again, I've not picked her most recent one. I did love that, but out of the ones on my shelves that I really loved, the one from the year before last, The No Show by Beth O'Leary, this was the one that, out of all of them, I think is my favourite. I don't know what it is about why it's my favourite and why I'm thinking about it was, but it's a no-show. It's kind of like there's 3 lead characters, Siobhan, Miranda and Jane, and they're all connected to Joseph Carter, but Joseph Carter has all 3 different names in this. On the 8:52, Siobhan is looking forward to her breakfast date with Joseph. She's surprised when he suggested it, as she normally sees him late at night in the hotel room, but where he doesn't show up. And then at 2:53, Miranda is hoping that a Valentine's lunch with Carter will be a perfect way to celebrate a new job, but he doesn't turn up. Then at 6:30, Joseph Carter agreed to be Jane's fake boyfriend at an engagement party, but he doesn't show up. Meet Joseph Carter, that is if you can find him. 3 interconnecting amazing women, 3 very different storylines, and how they tie up together is incredible. I thoroughly love this book and I thoroughly recommend it to everyone. But again, get your tissues ready. Then the 2 historical fiction books. Again, I could recommend a million. If you want me to do more videos like this, please let me know. Kristin Hannah's book that I've got a stunning copy of, and that's The Nightingale. Again, this book will break you. I could pick any of her books, but this, and I would probably say The Four Winds are my favourites of hers. This book is stunning. It's my first book I read by her. It's set in World War II. 2 sisters. It will break you. It's probably one of the most well-known books of hers. It will break you into a million pieces. I have to reread this. It was absolutely incredible. Strong women, strong characters, sisters. I thoroughly loved it. I thoroughly recommend it to everyone. And then Stacey Hall's books. Again, this is her most recent one, actually, I think. And that is Mrs. England. I know she's got a book coming out this year. It's on my anticipated reads. There is no such things as the perfect family. And look how stunning this is. This is probably, oh my god, I can't describe how stunning this is. This is one of my most beautiful books as well. And this is set in 1904. So do not ask me the era, because I think is it Edwardian era? I think it's the Edwardian era. And it's about the newly graduated, when the newly graduated nurse Ruby May takes a position looking after the children of Charles and Lillian England, a wealthy couple. She hopes it will be a fresh start she needs, but as she adapts to life at an isolated Hardcastle house, she becomes clear that there's something not right about the beautiful and mysterious Mrs. England. This is mysterious. I love the fact there's a mystery element in this as well as the historical fiction element. I love this book through and through. It was absolutely incredible and one of my favourites that year. Now to two books of each genre that I really wanted to read. I don't know why they're the books I picked up, but I have. They're not actually by my favourite authors, but they're books that for some reason on my shelves they jumped out. First one is Libby Page's book, The Vintage Shop. I do really enjoy Libby Page's books. She's written so many good books. But this has got a bit of a history element in it, and this is about one dress, three women, a lifetime of secrets. And Chris bought it for me for Christmas this year, I think. Among the cobbled streets of Frome in Somerset, Lou is about to start something new. After losing her mother, she knows she's about to take a chance and open her own vintage clothes shops. In upstate New York, Donna receives some news about her family, which throws everything she thought she knew into question. The only clue she has to unlock her past is a picture of a yellow dress. And then lastly, Maggie is in her 70s, newly divorced and all alone in an empty house. Visiting the little village shop in Frome with its rows of beautiful dresses brings back cherished memories. This looks so good, I can't wait to read that. And then the one that Katie recommended last year, so it's not really a new book out, but it's new out in paperback, and that is The Amazing Grace Adams. And this has got a protagonist, who's not far off sort of similar age to myself. And once Grace Adams was poised for great things, now she barely attracts a second glance as she strides down the street carrying her daughter's 16th birthday cake. But behind the scenes, Grace's life is in freefall. Her husband is divorcing her, her daughter has banned her from her birthday party, and Grace has just abandoned her car in a bumper-to-bumper traffic because Grace Adams has had enough, and she goes off. Can't wait to read this. And then the two books I really want to get to is the first one that is A Terrible Kindness by Jo Browning Rowe. I was given this by the lovely Angela from Reading Off My Shelf, and Charlotte from Queenie Reads said it was one of her favourite books of last year. It's set in 1966 at the time of the Aberfan disaster. And it's a bit about the Aberfan disaster. Obviously, we talk about the landslide that happened there, and it killed so many children. But it's about more than that. It's a book full of hope, and I know that a lot of people really love this book, but I do know it will break me into a million pieces. And then lastly, a book that Charlie from Charles Heathcote got me for my birthday Christmas last year, and I've still not bloody read it, and it's the third in this series, the Tideland series. Yeah, third in the Tideland series, and this is Dawnlands. A king in trouble, a community divided, and a woman determined. I've loved the other two books in the series, and again, it's stunning. I don't want to know too much about it because it is the third in the series, but I do desperately want to read it. It's Philippa Gregory. I know I'm going to love it. It is Mahusive, but it's really good, and I can't wait to read it. So, that's it. That's historical fiction versus contemporary. I am trying to think about what emoji you could do. I'm thinking, and that's dangerous for me. I think that if you can, I'm wondering what history author. I think if you've got to the end of this video, because they're two of my favourites, my favourite colour is purple. Pick a purple emoji, so a purple heart emoji if you've got to the end of this video, or a purple emoji. That would be great because that's my favourite colour, because we talk about favourites, like favourite genres. Sorry it's not very original, my brain is a bit fried today. But yeah, if you got to the end of that. If you'd like me to do more videos on the genres that I love, let me know down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, not subscribed, ring on my ding-a-ling, and I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.